Worry erodes our confidence and our self-trust. In the last episode, I spoke about breaking the cycle of worry. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about learning how to trust yourself again, how you can build up that confidence in yourself and make those decisions without the worry. If you're new here, hello, I'm Niamh. I'm a women's confidence coach. I use tools like Reiki, meditation and journaling to help in my coaching work with women to help them stop people pleasing, start trusting themselves, stop worrying and feeling anxious and stressed all the time, and start living the life they want to live. And over the last 3 episodes, I've been talking about worry. We talked about what worry is. I talked about, you were here on the journey too, about how worry affects your body, the physical effects of worry. And we talked about how worry affects your confidence. It erodes away your sense of self, your sense of confidence, your trust in yourself. And in the last episode, if you listened, you might remember that I told a story, or maybe it was the episode before, not sure, where one of the touch points for me where I realized I needed to do something about this constant worry was when I stood in a supermarket aisle looking at the sandwiches and I couldn't choose one. I didn't know what I wanted. I couldn't even access my intuition, my body. I just looked at this overwhelming choice of sandwiches and I burst into tears because I just couldn't choose. And this is what worry does to us, because when we constantly agonize over a decision, we're telling ourselves that we don't trust ourselves. When even the smallest choice, we have to make a pro-con list, or we have to think about it endlessly before we choose, or we have to ask for somebody else's opinion. Should I have egg? Or should I have ham salad today? Oh, that Wensleydale one looks really good. Oh, what about prawn mayonnaise? I do love prawn mayonnaise. Oh, there's a tuna one too. Should I have tuna? What do you think? I don't know. Instead of being able to just walk into the shop, look at the sandwich and say, oh, I really fancy tuna today. Picking it up, paying for it and leaving. That's self-trust. Confidence. That's knowing what you want. And let's please be kind to ourselves here, because we never meant to get into this loop. We didn't do it on purpose. But I spoke in the very first episode of this series, I think it was episode 4 of season 2, about how worry can become an addiction and how we get caught in those cycles. And there can be a little bit of a dopamine hit here with the worry when we think we've come to a solution, or when we're telling ourselves little stories. I also spoke the last time about how, as humans, we thrive on reward, on that dopamine and serotonin hits. So, I spoke about breaking the cycle. So, we'll go over those steps again. So it's 1, noticing the worry, naming the worry, taking action on the worry. Now, I also said that this is not easy. And if you go back to the last episode of breaking the cycle, you can go through those, you can hear those steps again, and you can hear my journey through them. So I'm not going to go into any more detail here. But taking those actions, taking those steps helps to build up your self-trust. each little action. So if you have a worry and you name it, for instance, I told the story in the last episode about wanting to get my boiler serviced and all the stories my brain would tell me. So what I did was I noticed that I was worrying. So I said, okay, I'm worrying. The next thing I asked is, what am I worrying about? I'm worrying about getting my boiler serviced. What stories am I telling myself about this? Well, I'm telling myself that I want it serviced before winter. Okay, that's sensible. But I have client calls booked in. I have calls with my own coach booked in. I have various other things going on. So my brain is telling me you don't have a time slot, because my service company, they never give me a time slot. It can be 8 till 5 or 7 till 4. So I have to be here all day. Now, I don't want to be on a client call, as they're confidential, when the boiler man comes. So this is what, as I said in the last episode, was going through my brain and stopping me from actually doing anything. So let's go back to the steps. I'm worrying. Okay, I'm worrying. What am I worrying about? Getting my boiler serviced. Right, stop right there. What action can I take? Well, I can look at my calendar and I can see when I next have a free day. And the next one, and I chose 3 dates. So I did this. I went to my calendar and I chose 3 dates. Then I went straight to the company's website, got the phone number, rang them immediately before I gave myself any other options. So I took action. 2 actions was what this took. I rang them up and I said, I want my boiler serviced. This is the date I'm available. And they said, oh yes, we can do that. All booked in. Great. So I can put that worry. I don't need to worry about that anymore now. It's in my diary. That day's blocked out, the boiler service. Done. And so I've dealt with a worry proactively. And so I can express gratitude to myself for that. There's also a sense of relief in that as well. There's also a sense of pride because I've done it. I've actually done it. I've booked the boiler service in. I know exactly when it's happening. I also asked the price because the other bit of the worry that was coming in was money. So I asked how much it's going to cost. I know I have that much money. End of story. And so now I know I can make this decision. I know I don't need to go into the endless loops of worries and stories. And what that does is not only does it take that current worry away from me, it gives me a sense of trust in myself and confidence in myself that I can actually make a decision, because I did it. I made a decision. So even the smallest decisions, if we go back to the supermarket and the sandwiches, and I will walk in there today and decide I want cheese and tomato, and I can look back at that time 5 years ago or 4 years ago, whenever it was, and think, well, I couldn't do that then. Look how far I've come. Now, for some of you, that you may never have got that deep into your worry. And I love that for you. But for some of us, even those tiny little decisions are so hard. But every time you make one, every time you break the cycle, make the decision, praise yourself for it, give gratitude to yourself for it, really notice that you've done it, that you've taken the action. And not only will you notice that your worry lessens, you'll make decisions more quickly in future because you trust yourself to make the right decision. And in all of this, we've got to be really kind and really compassionate with ourselves. Yes, there are times when you're going to make the wrong decision. That's humanity. It's human life. We all make wrong choices from time to time. And we need to be kind and compassionate with ourselves when that happens. And know that it's okay. Yes, I chose the ham sandwich. And it wasn't great. The ham was curled and the lettuce was wilted and it was pretty yuck. But I'll know better next time. So I don't beat myself up about making the wrong choice. I learn a lesson from it. And this is where we can really change our thinking. And notice I say thinking, not our worrying. Because I'm not going to worry about the fact that my lunch was horrible. It's in the past. I'm just going to choose differently next time. But I'm going to be kind to myself as well. And none of this is easy. I'm not going to lie to you and say to you that this is easy when you've been caught up in worrying for years and years. It takes practice. You'll have setbacks, but you'll notice the changes. And every time you notice a change, you need to congratulate yourself. Every time you make a decision with a little bit less worry, a little bit less angst, a little bit less storytelling, congratulate yourself, because you're getting there. You're building your self-trust. Years of worrying and agonizing over every decision, every choice. Years of saying yes to others when you meant no. Years of putting yourself last. They all erode your self-trust and your confidence. And as I say, Rome wasn't built in a day, so you're not going to achieve a worry-free existence and immense self-trust in one episode of a podcast. You build it slowly, step by step. And each time you might, one day you might just reach step 1. Another day you might get to step 3, you might actually take action. And then a couple of days later you'll find yourself back at step 1. You're worrying, you notice you're worrying, but you can't move forward, and that's okay. You're learning. Self-trust is built on self-compassion and kindness to yourself. The same compassion and kindness you extend to everybody else in your life, you really need to start looking at yourself with that kindness and that compassion. And your inner critic will pipe up. And I do have a free workshop which I'll be probably running again in a few weeks' time on how to meet your inner critic with compassion so that you can quieten it down, you can hear what it's saying, and that will also lessen some of the worry and some of the agonizing. So let's break this down again one final time. We're breaking the cycle of worry. We're building trust in ourselves, one kind and compassionate step at a time. So we're going to notice the worry. We're going to name the worry. And we're going to either take action or we're going to set the worry aside. Every time we achieve step 3, we're going to congratulate and praise ourselves for doing it. We're going to make a note. I get all of my clients to keep a log of their accomplishments and achievements, and I suggest that you get yourself a nice little notebook and you start doing this now. And every choice you make from now on, every decision you make without agonizing, goes in that list. So I will be putting book the boiler service in my list of accomplishments, because it was something I was agonizing over. Chose a sandwich straight off the bat. It mightn't seem like a huge thing, but 5 years ago I was standing in a supermarket aisle crying over sandwiches. Now I can walk into a shop and choose a sandwich. That's huge for me. We all have our own things. You will have your own variety of the boiler service or the sandwich story. You just need to apply the steps to your version, your variety. With kindness and compassion. If you need any help with this, if you want to talk through any of this, please do let me know. I'm always open to a chat with anybody about all of this sort of stuff. I've been there. I've been in that supermarket aisle crying over a sandwich, and I broke free. And I know you can too. So thank you so much for listening to me. And if you think this episode will help anybody else, please do feel free to share. And I will see you on the next one.